Welcome back. The Tugume story back with another episode. When using Fintech services, consumers have several rights that protect them from fraud and from deception and mistreatment by these fintech companies. Those rights include the right to fair treatment. Consumers have the right to be treated fairly without discrimination, without segregation, actually by all the fintech companies involved. Their contracts must be fairly, and they must be actually the feasibility must be there. And actually the right to privacy. Consumers have the right to have their personal information protected and not shared with their other without their consent, and they have the right to their personal data and information. A company has no right to close them out of the system, yet that system has their data, has all their information, their financial informations and transactions and whatever. But a company like mine that I was in just closed me out of the system. Couldn't see my transactions, financial transaction. I couldn't be able to access any information and any data about me, yet it's my own data. And rights to information. Consumers have the right to receive clear and accurate information about fintech services, including the terms and conditions, fees, the fees changes, risks associated with the service. Many I have the right to that information. But here comes, I went to Uganda offices to file a complaint. They denied me access to my contract. They denied me access to information. I have evidence of this. They denied me each and every document that I could have used into this matter. So they denied me access to the right of information that I needed to help me file my complaint with them. And the right to transparency. Consumers have the right to know how their personal information is being handled. For example, here is a company of Uganda saying that it gave me an asset of the phone. I've been paying for it without my knowledge. So when I reached somewhere and I couldn't give them money, it's when they told me I have defaulted the phone. And I've never received the phone from them. They've never delivered it to me. I don't know how it looks like, what kind of phone, but they've been fraudulently charging me money for this kind of gadget. They didn't communicate. There was no transparency and accuracy in the information they disbanded. The right to dispute resolution. I went to Uganda to file a complaint, and I had a right to my dispute resolution. I had the right to have a resolution because this is a solution-oriented company. Those are one of their core values. What solution-oriented? Humanity, the understanding. So that's what they claim they are. But in this matter, they failed to understand me. They failed to listen to me until I came up with such ways of publicity and advocacy to cause people to let people know about what I'm going through and to help me proceed how I can handle the situation, because many of my rights were violated, as I'm telling you and I'm showing you. So I had the right to dispute resolution, but there was no any resolution when I filed my complaint. And the right to security. Consumers have the right to have their personal information and financial transactions protected from unauthorized access and data breaches. The right to access. Consumers have the right to access their personal information and financial transactions and to request that any errors be corrected. So I went to ask for financial. I have the recordings, the proof, the evidence is there. There is nothing I'm speaking about without evidence. I have evidence, strong evidence, that the rights to access consumers. I have a right to access my personal information and financial transactions, to request that any errors be corrected. So I went to this company, asked for the receipt of the amount so far paid, because they had closed me from the app. I couldn't access the app to see how far my financial statements and transactions were. So when I went to the office, they were very arrogant. I have the recordings. If I played you to how they replied me that I have no right to receipt unless I complete. That I have no right to know. In fact, my contract was terminated and I have no right to any information about that contract because it's no more and it doesn't exist. So here, the right to access my personal information, financial transaction, of the backdated information of the previous transactions was denied their access. I was denied the access, and I was denied the request that any errors be corrected. That was never done. The right to choose, as the client of Uganda, had a right to choose. Consumers have the right to choose from a variety of fintech services to switch to a different service if they are not satisfied with the current one. There was no option that was put for me. Just in case my asset I had got, I filed the complaints. It's a challenging one. So I had mechanical challenges. At least I would have received another one and continued with the fresh payment. That I was denied that chance. And the right to be informed. Consumers have the right to be informed of any changes or any updates to fintech services or terms and conditions. I have never been informed. I have been denied access. Not only me, but the rest of other consumers in this business. There is no one who gets actually the information they really deserve, the accurate information they really deserve, and the right to fair and prompt payment. Consumers have the right to receive their payments on time and without any due delays. If I file a complaint and I need a compensation, if there have been any fraudulent irresponsibilities taken by these companies should be able to compensate me. And I have a right to prompt payment and fair. It is important to note that the fintech services and providers should also make sure that they are compliant with the laws and regulations, and consumers should be aware of their rights and regulations that protect them in such kind of matter. Fintech regulators in Uganda should develop several types of regulations to reduce or stop financial fraud in this country, Uganda. Licensing and registration requirements. Fintech companies should be required to obtain a license from the regulators and register with them after reviewing proper review of these the contracts time. They have to review, not only file their license and wait for given years. They should always be checking them and have reviews This will allow regulators to monitor the company activities and ensure that they are operating in compliance with the laws of this country, the regulations of this nation. Anti-money laundering, AML, or countering the financing of irregularities that seem to be treasonable or terrorism. These irregularities of cheating fraudulently Ugandans is an act of terror. You cannot cheat me 6 plus M's. And actually, this is not an act and you say this is not an act of terror. Actually, this includes also implementing consumer identification procedures, monitoring transactions for suspicious activities, and reporting any suspicious transactions to regulators. Consumer protection regulations. Fintech company regulators fintech companies should be asked and tasked or required to provide consumers with clear and accurate information of their services, including the terms and conditions, the fees, the risks associated with the services. They should also provide consumers with the means to file complaints and have complaint desks that seek resolutions and finding solutions for the problems that the clients or consumers are facing. If they believe their rights have been violated, let them have a right to file complaints. Data protection regulations. Fintech companies should also be required to protect consumer data from unauthorized access, data breaches, which include implementing strict data protection policies and regularly auditing data security systems, and also regularly auditing the financial transactions of those who feel that they have been irresponsibly treated. Transparency regulations. Fintech companies should be required to disclose all relevant information to consumers and regulators, such as the company's financial statement and business practices. Continuous monitoring and regulations. Fintech companies should be under continuous monitoring by the regulators. This will ensure that any suspicious activities be detected and dealt with promptly, that the company operating in compliance with the laws and regulations. It should be thought that these companies should be urged to abide and comply by the regulations governing this nation, and fairly treat their clients in the complaints they make and have a fair solution. And I really understand how this situation has treated me. I have went through difficult situations while I have no bike, and a straightforward process to seek legal redress because I have no money for my lawyers and have no finance to take up this matter. But the best ways was to buy data, and I make it understandable to all my viewers and family and friends and OBs and OGs, regulators, government bodies, MPs, honorables, councillors, each and every authority out there. I want you to understand that Ugandans are being unfairly treated, cheated in all fraudulent ways by these well-organized, structured financial or tech lenders, or leads to asset contractors or lenders, and they are. It's really this situation really made me feel depressed and overwhelmed, and it was very much good and important to remember that I'm not alone in this situation, and that there are organizations and individuals who can provide me with the support and assistance to make sure my subject matter has been brought to book, and has been brought to fair treatment, or this company has been brought to order and to book. It is also important to take care of my emotional feelings, and also physical well-being during this process, because I have to stay positive and remorseful. I have to stay humane, talk to friends and families, and seek professional help from an associate or any land friend. And also I can also practice self-care activities and relax and cope up with my stress through meditations and yoga, exercise. It's also that is the advice that was given to me by one of the counselors around, that I make sure I emotionally stay okay, because this situation can cause me depression and even mentally be dysfunctional or mentally disturbed. So if I don't handle this matter very well, it may bring me emotional stress. So one of the counselors advised me I should stay positive, thinking positively, and positively engaging this matter. It is also important that I keep it in mind that it may take some time for my complaints and petitions to be resolved, but it is important to stay persistent and not give up, and remember that I have my rights that should be protected, and I should do not hesitate to seek redress in all ways, whether legally, whether medially, whether professionally, or informally or formally. But I should not hesitate to seek redress for any losses I may have suffered as a result of the fraudulent activities taken that Tugende took me through. It is also important to keep in mind that this is not only my fight, but it's a fight for others and for justice for many who have been unfairly treated or biasly treated, or with bias, or with any other way they were unfairly treated. There are many others out there. It is also very much important to call upon each and every victim. Buli watugende, manya waki, manya watu, manya boda boda banja, manya baraha, bona, manya all of these money lenders bula yakwihiro asset yawe, walugisa sulire. Please come up, stand up, fight for a right cause. Fight for your money. That was your money you were saving. There should be an action taken by the authorities responsible, the MPs, the ministers, Minister of Finance Matia Kasaija, the Minister of Transport Suvi, and the honorable members of Parliament out there. All of them, I won't mention them one by one, because my target here is not to politique. This is, didn't even want to mention the politicians here. That's why I've come with the authorities that have responsible by law by the government of Uganda to hold these companies accountable, because I don't want to be taken political. This is not a political matter, but it's an advocacy matter, and I'm advocating for my rights and those of others. That's why I have to keep it. That's why it is important to keep it in my mind that this is not only my fight or for my own self, but a fight for others, a fight for justice of many. Finally, it is also important to know that this is not a personal failure. It wasn't me who failed to pay, because I managed to pay around 6 plus M, and it wasn't my personal failure. I don't attribute it to my own personal failure. I'm not the one who brought COVID. Because if I give you the data, if I can give you here the data, I applied for the bike of Tugende on 5th 10th 2019 October. That's when I applied, and actually my application was received, and I made my first commitment fee, first payment. That was on 7th October 2019. I received the bike on 3rd November 2019. 3rd November 2019 is when I received the bike, and even began paying for it promptly there and then. My manager, the then branch manager, was BJ France, and actually my collections officer was Barongo Godfrey, and emergency officer or security was Mr. Bennett. Actually, the CEO of this company is called Michael Wilkerson. Actually, Michael Wilkerson is the founder and CEO, co-founder and CEO. I read about his biography, how he came up with this idea. He was in intern, I think, way back in the year I won't mention. Let me not go into that. But actually, Tugende is a coded investment management, and it's a leading European impact investor whose mandate is to support the growth of MSMEs across the African continent. It's tackling the MSME credit gap in East Africa using asset finance and technology, data analysis industry to unlock growth for the informal through formalizing businesses like borders and digital enabling lenders specializing in asset finance and credit scoring. This information I'm reading is distributed by APO Group on behalf of Verdant Capital Hybrid Fund. Verdant Capital, it is said Verdant Capital published this article I'm reading on October 11th, 2022. It was titled Tugende closes pre-Series B funding rising a total US $10 million in equity and debt transactions, as arranged by Verdant Capital, a financial advisor and arranger of this company. It defines the company as an innovative fintech platform for aggregators from existing shareholders, led by a portage and 2 new investors that were never mentioned, including Andrew Mwenda of Independent Magazine, including Women's World Bank King, the new investor. And this information is extracted from content in the multimedia website of Verdant Capital. It was published on October 11, 2022. Tugende aggregators in Fintech. Charles Mwanguhia Mpagi, the corporate affairs manager and communication manager once defined Tugende as a Tier 4 non-deposit taking financial institution regulated by Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority and Ministry of Trade. This piece was extracted from the Observer of February 9th, 2022, written by Samuel Muhindo. The article was titled Boda Boda Morphing into Financial Sector. The sources of all this is information from internet. Within a period of 2 years, I was managed by the following: around 10 managers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 managers, and in the 11 managers, at least 9 impounded my bikes 9 times, each once. Godfrey Barongo once, Michael Mwesigwa once, Moses Agaba once, Louis Asimwe once, Declan Ashaba once, Pius Sita once. So had also Robert Tushabe and many others that I have not mentioned. All those know about my matter. There is no one who doesn't know my matter. So as I've told you, that it's very much important to know that this was not my personal failure, but a failure of the systems and the management. So the fight I'm fighting is against the failures, mistreatment, the fraudulent way, unfair way of taking advantage of me who is vulnerable in this situation and others who are vulnerable in this situation. It is important to speak out against such injustices, such things. You cannot collect amounts worth 6M plus. It is here. I have my financial records. Even if you go and change them, you may change them, I know, and say that because they told me some amounts of money, they are not reflected in the system because they were fines, but they are in my system, are reflected in my recordings. I have them because I paid them. If you deducted them and called them fines and you are not reflecting them in your system, that is okay with you. So as I am going ahead, I would like to understand that there are more specific information I have, how I can contact the regulatory bodies and anybody who can help me and assist me in the filing and having fair treatment in hearing my petition. This is an audio petition. I've not written it. I wrote it and posted it, but I've had series of videos for visual audio hearing. I have many agencies that have contacted me, friends who are ready to provide more help and more information how I will go about this matter, and that will help me to proceed. As I mentioned earlier, that the information I have and what I provided is not a direct attack or harm or damage the reputation or the businesses or the marketings or the structures of the developments It's not a direct attack to damage or harm the development or any infrastructure or any business or anyone mentioned fintech companies, but rather it's my responsibility as a victim in this situation to hold them accountable, and it's my civic duty to ensure my rights and those of others in the fintech services and those users of these financial digital services are respected and protected by the government of Uganda and the regulatory authorities in